Hello everyone, welcome to Chess Master Strategy. Today's game was played in 1985 World Chess Championship between the 22 years old challenger world number 2 Garry Kasparov with white and the 34 years old world champion world number 1 Anatoly Karpov with black. After 2 months' 24 games battle, Garry Kasparov became the youngest world champion at that time. The game won in this match is a true story about the importance of the queenside pawn majority, and it demonstrated how Garry Kasparov sensed a tiny advantage and made the queen exchange decision just in move 12. In his words, forcing a transition into an ending in which black will be condemned to a chairless defense. Kasparov then consolidated his edge in the queenside and maintained the queenside pawn majority, along with the accurate rook maneuver to have won the game in the 42nd move. Let's now jump into the game right away. This game starts with East Indian defense. If you push the pawn to here, that will become the queen's gambit declined. Or in the actual game, bishop b4 is played. You have a couple of variations to play bishop e3 or knight f3. Kasparov normally play e3, but in this game he played as knight f3 instead. Little bit surprise for Karpov. He could do castle at this stage, but instead he challenging the d4 pawn. Now g3 is played, opening this diagonal for the bishop. After long thinking, Karpov played knight e4. After 5 moves, Black already spent 50 minutes. So two attackers versus one defenders. Queen gets to d3, challenging the knight. Here, the main line is cd, and knight takes r1, take, knight jumping to here, queen moving to here, castle. But Kappa avoided the main line. Instead, he moved the queen to a5, 3 versus 2 position. So the following moves are all forced moves. Queen takes that one, bishop take that one, bishop defense, take. In here, you could jump the knight to here. If white take this one, that's going to be quite variation. Or otherwise, if pawn push to d5, that's going to be more energetic. For example, if keep going with bishop g2, knight can jump into here. This pawn is pinned, so rook moving to here, take. Let's get back to the actual game. In the actual game, queen moved to b6, threatening these two pawns, 2 versus 1 position. dc, and queen takes b2. Now rook is to b1. The best option for here to play is queen moving to a3, threatening these two pawns. You need to defend this pawn, threatening here, and castle, and bishop can prepare for fianchetto. Knight jumping to here, 2 versus 1, and knight can get to here, and queen have a check here. Black is in good position in this move. If you take this pawn, that will be dangerous, I would say. For example, queen can move to here, threatening this pawn as well, and castling. Queen can get to c3. See, the queen is easily to get trapped in all the right squares. Plus, if rook gets to b5, knight jumping to here, fianchetto to here, well, that's going to be very dangerous. So Kappa didn't want to spend too much time for this a2 isolated pawn. Instead, he moved the queen to c3. Not a very accurate response. Now, Kasparov made a very critical decision. He moved the queen to c3. His thought is, after exchange, the e pawn will become queen's pawn, and he will form a pawn majority in the queen side. Plus, the rook is aiming for the b7 after fianchetto, b7 with a bishop, and knight jumping to here and to here. Also b7, very active structure. So if you move the queen back to here, rook can get to here, and he has to retreat to here, and the knight can jump into the center castle, and bishop can get to here. So you can see white already control 5th ranks, but black only in 6th ranks. Very passive for black. And you can't take this one, otherwise you're gonna lose the queen. So in this position, Karpov decided to make the queen exchange, and ed is played. After this move, Kasparov got queen's pawn majority. Don't worry about when you have this kind of situation because you see you have a doubling pawns, you have one isolated pawn, that's fine. These two pawns are very easily to get protected. For example, in the next move, instead of black push the knight to c6, he moved the knight to a6, and white responds with d4. Easy to get protected. And this one, bishop already on it, and you can't use your bishop to attack this one. And this pawn, very hard to get attack in here. And in this position, white could also move the bishop to here, threatening this pawn. If you take, I push, retreat, I grab this one back. Let's get back to the actual game. In the actual game, d4 is played. The best move for black to play is push this pawn, challenging the pawn chain straight away. But here, he moved the rook to b8, try to free this pawn. Very natural response. Bishop g2, fiancado, king moving to the center. We don't have queen anymore. Now rook gets to d8, prepare to attack on the d file. Knight gets to the center, pawn push to b6. Insufficiently free, this pawn. Let's see. Knight gets to d6. Black's plan is jump this knight to c7, followed by e8 to try to kick this powerful knight away. Computers suggest the best move should have been BC. Because after that, if rook takes that one, I take that one, you take that one, bishop, knight gets back to here, knight take that one, rook take that one, bishop gets to here. Black can sacrifice the knight for more pawns. Take this one, take, goes to here, take another one, check. Black is in holdable position, very equalized position. Or otherwise, as Kasparov later said, white could also take this one, and rook takes that one, bishop, black can sacrifice half piece, take, pawn take that one, and knight jumping towards the center. Once the knight landed to c3, that's going to be very unshakable outpost, building a strong pawn chain for the black side. Very holdable position for the black to play. Let's get back to the actual game. Knight c7 and rook b4. Prepare for doubling the rook in b file. Now let's get to here. Which one you gonna take with the knight, the bishop or the knight? We don't have too much time to think in details with limited time in the actual game, right? But think in a strategic level. So white has a doubling rook in here, and white has a pawn majority in the queen side, and the two rooks in the black side is not connected yet. The bishop is in the middle. So if you eliminate the knight, the remaining game would probably will be the bishop exchange, forced exchange, and given the white has some more active rooks to play with a pawn majority, white is in winning position. If you take this bishop, well, you're going to have a very powerful bishop left on the board, covering all the light squares, but this knight can cover all the squares in the battlefield. So to make it simple, knight takes knight is a better solution. In the actual game, king takes the knight. The best move in here should have been rook takes that one. If you're doubling the rook, let's see why. Bishop can get to here, force you to exchange. If you push the pawn, I take, discover in here, king moving to here. You can prepare some development in this open file for the black side. But in the actual game, king takes the knight and rook doubling up, aiming to gain this free pawn. So counterattack, bishop gets to a6, aiming for the c4. Best move in here is king gets to d3, protecting this one directly. But in the actual game, Kasparov made e3, not very accurate. The best position to play for this position, the best move is rook gets to c8, counterattack. If you take, I can take this one, 2 versus 1 position. But in the actual game, he made a mistake by d5. Now, which pawn we're going to use to take this d5 pawn? En passant or cd5? Think about it. Okay, en passant is played. Why we can't do cd5? Because you are helping your opponent to bring the king side pawn to the queen side. For example, if you take this one back, I take. Now, take this one and bishop can easily get in here. Very strong structure and targeting the a2. Bishop cannot challenge the black bishop. Rook as well. Very difficult to be challenged. So in this position, en passant is played and the rook moved to c8, threatening this pawn. What about if you take this pawn straight away? The problem is I can do pawn push. You can't take that one, otherwise you're going to lose the rook. So you have to retreat back to the 8th rank. I don't need to take this free pawn. I can push this pawn, making a fork, and you have to defend. Now I move the rook to a4. So you're going to lose these bishops. See, you can't get any right squares. That's very nasty. So Kappa didn't play that way, so he played rook to c8. Now king moved to d3. Very natural response. Kasparov later said he should have played a more stronger move, which is rook gets to a4, directly targeting the bishop. If you take this one, I can do this one. If you push, I can do check, take, and rook take the pawn check. I have pawn majority in the queen side. I have two rooks versus one rook plus bishop. White is in winning position for sure. But in the actual game, he didn't play that way. He played a conservative way, king d3, and rook takes that one safely. Rook now moving to a4, challenging the bishop. Bishop cannot retreat to here at this stage, so he pushes the pawn forward. Let's see how Kappa deal with this one very carefully. He first pushed this one forward, so Kasparov has to take that one. You can't take that one because you're going to lose the bishop. So he moved the rook to here, pin this pawn. You can't do this rook in here, otherwise it's gonna be a fork. So he moved back the rook to b4, and bishop now can safely make exchange. The ending game started. You can see we just mentioned this pawn was an isolated pawn, but it's no longer that case because the next move pawn chain is formed in here. Very strong pawn chain, and king moving to the center. Don't be too rushed to push, otherwise it's easy to get blocked in queen side because two rooks in good position. So instead of making the progress in the queen side, he pushed pawn to the king side because the rook is connected in both queen and king side. h4 in response, h6, then f3. Now rook gets to d5, trying to connect in the king side as well. But downside for this move is black lost control for the a5 square. Now rook is to c1, controlling this open file, rook doubling up, targeting the d4. Now pawn push a5 and g5 in the king side. You can push up or you can take that one. Take, push up, g4 protecting itself, and now push to h5. Now queen side pawn push b6, take, building a passing pawn, rook block the way, b7, now rook is to c5, beautiful play. You can't take that one, otherwise white will build another pawn chain, d and c and b. So f5 is played, and now take that one, rook take that one, king moving to the center. Regardless of which direction you go, black is losing. Rook is to h8, and now king towards the a6 square. Now rook block the way. That's okay. Rook is to c4. That's the last move for the game. The game sailed in that day, and in the next day, Kappa didn't play anything. He just resigned. The reason is if he continues to play, for example, make the rook in here, doubling the rook, threatening this pawn. I can do check. If you take, I take that one back. We can do some backward, forward, and if you keep going, I can squeeze you room in here. If you want to take this one, that's fine. Take this one, take. If you go back, I take another one. That's the game for today. I hope you enjoy that, and I see you next time. Bye bye.